Now on GMU at 6, a winter storm blowing through Utah this morning.
We've got team coverage of this storm, what you can expect for the weekend.
Plus, as one storm exits the region today, we've got another one right hot on its heels. We're breaking down our entire weekend forecast coming up.
Live from Utah's first TV station, Good Morning Utah at 6 starts now.
Good morning, Utah. I'm Brian Carlson.
And I'm Sarah Martin. It's 6 a.m. this Friday. We begin with a winter storm dropping rain and snow this morning.
Yeah, you bet we do. This is a live look at that snow coming down right now in Park City from our UDOT traffic cameras. You got snow on the side of the road, and it just not stopping.
It is not. And down in our valleys, we have rain falling. Here is a live look. I-15 7 South right near downtown Salt Lake City, courtesy of our UDOT traffic cameras.
Of course, we have team coverage of the storm this morning and what you can expect for the morning commute. Meteorologist Adam Carroll following the storm from our Pinpoint Weather Center.
We begin, though, with ABC4's Jared Jatnini live up there, Parley's Canyon, tracking the snow. What are you seeing, Jared?
Well, Sarah, we're seeing poor visibility and this thick snowfall accumulating on the ground. Take a look. We're on a frontage road here. Plows just went by and cleared this area to make it safe for drivers that live in this area. We're right by Woodward Park in near Park City. You can see a car coming here. No major issues right where we are right now, but I don't know if you can see those lights on Parley's Canyon, I-80 there. You can see there's a steady stream of traffic. You know, you got to be safe out here this morning. This morning commute could be tricky as we expect conditions to only worsen. Again, we do have the Utah Department of Transportation out in full force this morning. We've seen several fleets of snow plows go in either direction this morning, really trying to keep conditions safe for drivers. But drivers also have a part to play in all of this. Take a listen to what UDOT has to say.
There's a lot of fresh powder that we're expecting over the next 3 to 4 days. You just want to make sure that you're checking the ski resorts, checking the parking situation.
Back out here live again, you can see the snow just falling on this stretch of Parley's Canyon where we are right now. And that's sound advice from the Utah Department of Transportation as we are approaching one of the busiest ski weekends, President's Weekend. Paired with all this fresh snow, we can, anticipate our canyon passes to be very packed with folks trying to get out and about to take advantage. So again, if you're going to be out this morning, the morning commute is dicey right now and only expected to get worse. Make sure to monitor conditions and always drive for those conditions. Live, Jared Jatnini, ABC4 News.
All right, let's check in now with meteorologist Adam Carroll.
What are you seeing across our region, Adam?
Well, Jordanelle and backside of the Wasatch, they're seeing the snow come down in this area of the state, but this is perfect timing that we desperately needed this type of more or less storm track over the next week or so. The storm will continue and the snow will continue to pile up here across our Wasatch Mountains, our central, our southern mountains as well. Most of these storms are all going to have some type of impact here for the majority of the state, but there it is, Jordanelle, seeing the snow falling right there on the backside of the Wasatch. But we do have other areas of the state seeing the rain and the snowfall. You can see across portions of southern Utah as well, eastern Utah, and then of course northern Utah has seen the bulk of the wet weather and the snowfall. We've already seen reports coming in. Places like Powder Mountain picked up 9 inches already of snow, and it's still raining for our valleys, but there is a back edge to it. But once we continue to more or less quiet things down, we'll stay showery thereafter, and our mountains will continue that snow train all day long and into the night, and we're seeing the snowfall across our mountains of southern Utah, rain for our valleys, also for eastern Utah as well. We're seeing the rain in our mountain snow, but this is just storm one. We will have the rain for our valleys continuing here this morning. We'll have the snow throughout the afternoon for our mountains, and that is why we continue to have a winter storm warning for storm one in effect for the western Uintas, for our Wasatch, our northern mountains, some of our central mountains, and then the western or the winter weather advisories for the rest of our mountains of Utah here through 11 p.m. tonight. Of course, we do have also some travel impacts. Of course, our mountain passes of northern Utah, including the Cottonwoods, Parleys. We'll have some road snow in here through the afternoon hours before things really start to quiet things down. But traveling right now, we have traction laws in place for the Cottonwoods. wet roads along the Wasatch Front. Rain, snow mixing across portions of the benches, also some mountain snow, road-covered snow. But we're continuing to highlight Parley's because this is where the travel troubles will be this morning. Silver Creek Road looks a little on the snowy side, as well as Parley Summit. But right now, things are still okay for Parley Summit. And for the Wasatch Front side of things, I-15, you're wet roads, but things are still smooth.
All right, thanks so much, Adam, keeping us safe this morning. Count on ABC4 News to bring you the latest on this winter storm and all the next, both on air and online at abc4.com.
Now, one thing we're waiting to see with today's set of storms is what will it do for our drought? Utah's snowpack is only about 65% of normal for this time of year. While we could get feet of snow there in the mountains, the National Weather Service says there's only a 10% chance our snowpack hits normal by April.
It's good we're seeing all this snow, and we're going to see a lot of snow. It's looking like we could see 2 to 3 feet in the upper Cottonwoods by Tuesday. So we're seeing this good. It's good, but we're already so far behind. It would take an exceptional late winter, early spring to catch up completely.
Now, the Central Utah Water Conservancy District says right now our reservoirs are at moderate levels. And because the soil is so dry, the spring runoff will soak into the ground before it ends up in our reservoirs.
Let's turn now to coronavirus coverage this morning. Happening today, Utahns 70 and older can get a vaccine in Utah County no matter where you live. We've reported all week long on Utah County's unused doses of vaccine. Health teams say they saw a drop in signups, they believe, because of some technology issues on their website, which they have resolved. So to fill up appointment slots and use their doses, Utah County opening up services to anyone eligible in the state, regardless of where you live. All Utahns 70 and older, plus groups like teachers, healthcare workers, and first responders can register to get a vaccine today in Provo and Spanish Fork. The link to sign up, healthevents.utahcounty.gov.
And today's the day you can start getting the vaccine at Walmart and Sam's Club. A total of 18 Utah store locations now offering appointments to underserved communities. Those eligible for the shot include healthcare workers, people living and working in long-term care facilities, first responders, seniors ages 70 and older, and teachers and school staff. For a full list of where you can get the vaccine, go to our website, abc4.com.
The governor wants to set up a huge number of mass vaccination sites in Utah, and he's calling for volunteers to make it happen. At his weekly press conference, the governor announced he wants to get every Utahn who wants a dose vaccinated by the end of May. That's nearly 2 million people in just 3 months. He says mass vaccination sites are the way to go, where thousands of people can get the shot in a day.
You'll see them in different places. You'll see them at stadiums. You'll see them at movie theaters. You'll see them in parking lots. There will be all kinds of different places that you can go to get your vaccine.
And he says our state needs a huge number of volunteers to make it happen. Governor Cox called for medically trained and non-medically trained people to step up and help. Find out how to sign up on our website, abc4.com.
And happening today, Utah doctors will share their plan to distribute the vaccine to the new group of people eligible next month. This morning, health experts at Intermountain Healthcare will explain how they're preparing to expand the shot. Starting March 1st, state leaders are lowering the age requirement to get the vaccine from 70 to 65. Right now, only seniors 70 and older, healthcare workers, first responders, and educators are eligible.
Let's get to your morning update on the COVID-19 numbers in Utah. We reported more than 1,200 new cases Thursday. Our state total more than 358,000. 462,000 plus vaccines have now been administered. 327 people are being treated in the hospital this morning, and 9 new deaths have been reported. Our death toll 1,774. A look at our last 7 days. We're averaging just about 1,000 new cases per day. Our rolling positivity rate 14.8%.
And if you get the vaccine, you don't have to quarantine anymore, but there are some restrictions. The CDC is updating their quarantine guidelines. They say quarantine is no longer necessary for people fully vaccinated who've become exposed to COVID-19 as long as you're asymptomatic. The new rule starts 2 weeks after you get your second dose, but no longer than 3 months after your final shot. That's because doctors say so far the length of protection is unclear.
On Utah's Capitol Hill, our state legislature advancing a bill to create filters for adult content on your phone. It would require every new phone and tablet sold after January 1st, 2022 have adult content filters. According to the Associated Press, though, that restriction won't start until 5 other states pass similar measures. The bill now heads to our state's full House for consideration.
And in politics, House managers concluded their arguments yesterday in the impeachment trial against former President Donald Trump. They say Trump's historic second impeachment trial is just as much about the deadly January 6th insurrection as it is about the nation's future. Democrats took senators seated as jurors frame by frame through the Capitol Hill riot. They used the perspective of Trump's own supporters to show how the mob repeatedly echoed the former president's words. The impeachment managers argue Trump started encouraging the mob long before the Capitol attack.
People thought that what I said was totally appropriate.
You know, I'm not afraid of Donald Trump running again in 4 years. I'm afraid he's going to run again and lose, because he can do this again.
Now, Utah Governor Spencer Cox also made an appearance during yesterday's trial. The House impeachment managers showed this clip of Governor Cox on Good Morning America to prove that Republicans across the country also denounced the president's actions.
People have to be held accountable, and yes, that includes the president. It includes everyone who played a role in what we saw in one of the darkest days in our nation's history.
Trump's legal team will start their opening arguments today.
And new this morning, Utah Senator Mike Lee met with former President Donald Trump's lawyers after that impeachment trial Thursday. According to the Salt Lake Tribune, Senators Lee, Lindsey Graham, and Ted Cruz met with Trump's lawyers about the trial, one Democratic senator calling the meeting very unusual.
The time now, 6:11. Coming up on GMU, Utah researchers studying how COVID-19 is affecting schools. Hear what they're learning about higher education in Utah. And despite struggling theme parks, Disney making huge profits. You can guess what they're doing to keep that money coming in.
Time now for your weather on the 4s.
At 6:14, weather on the 4s. Adam, we've got some big weather this morning.
Big weather today, tomorrow, the next. It's just a continuous stream of moisture, Brian.
There you go. That weather train's a-coming.
Oh, it's a-coming. And eventually there is a caboose, but it's a ways away before we get to that. But Utah State They've seen some rain. They've seen a little bit of rain-snow mix as well this morning, but here's what it looks like on the campus of Utah State. You can see how wet the surfaces are around the campus, but overall, we're still seeing the rainfall here across northern Utah, southern Utah, and eastern Utah right now. We may be seeing a little bit of rain, snow showers here across places like Elko, but there is a break later today in the action. But it's going to be a fairly small break before we get into the next storm. But we're still seeing rain falling here across the Wasatch Front along the I-15 corridor, snow falling for our mountains, and they're just going to continue all day long. The mountains will more or less become showery as we head throughout the day across the north. But then southern Utah, we're still seeing that rain here across the low elevations along I-15, higher elevations, mountain passes of I-15 seeing snow. Of course, places like Bryan Head and Bryce Canyon, and then also Moab and the LaSalle, Bajos, they're seeing rain or snow or both. Next storm, though, is on deck, and it reloads here late tonight as it makes its way into the west coast, Pacific Northwest, bringing more rounds of snow for them. Even for Seattle, they're going to see some snow with this one. They're bringing in colder air, and we're going to see that arrive as we head into tomorrow, but we'll continue to deal with the rain and snow today. Notice how it continues up in northern Utah, and then eventually it will go by the wayside here across southern Utah as we head into the afternoon hours, though the mountains are still going at it at about 2 o'clock. And more or less, we're just going to see fairly cloudy end to our day, but we will continue to see some showers as well coming in at times for northern Utah while the rest of the state takes a breather. Now, tomorrow morning, the next one arrives, and it will again be rain, snow for our valleys, though it might start with a snow to rain, snow mix for most valleys, and then it will go up as temperatures go up, and then snow, just snowing hard all the way down the I-15 corridor, the spine of Utah, and then, of course, eastern Utah will get into it as well by the midday hour with rain or snow. Vernal, you might just be more or less mixing throughout your day, and then look at how hard it comes down across places like Blanding and Moab, but we're still in it as well across northern Utah, and then look at that, 4 o'clock, a front's going to come blowing on in, and that's going to change everybody to snow. Look at how that went from rain to snow for that southwestern portion of the state, and that will lead to heavy snow across this part of the area, and it really will come down at a pretty good clip. This will make for some tricky travel here tomorrow night and into Sunday morning, and then we take a break for most of Sunday, though we will see some snow showers lingering around. And here comes our next storm. Coming into Elko, eastern Nevada by Monday morning, and all the way down the corridor here. It is going to be another tricky day on Monday, but the commute won't be nearly as bad because it's a holiday. So most will be home and there won't be any school. Locally higher amounts here for our additional snowfall today for our mountains. And mountain valleys, places like Park City, could see up to 2 inches. But overall, the biggest thing is that we have an avalanche watch continuing into tomorrow morning. As the snow continues to pile up, the avalanche danger goes up as well. And winter storm warnings are in effect for the second storm, with winter storm watches as well for that second storm system coming in tomorrow, as we're in a winter storm right now for the first storm. But today, we'll see some sunshine across portions of southern Utah. But overall, showers come to an end in St. George with rain coming back tomorrow. It just stays active all the way through Wednesday, with our third storm being all snow here for the Wasatch Front, and that will lead to accumulating snowfall with all of these different storms bringing in the much-needed moisture. We have the traction laws in place here for the Cottonwoods. We have wet roads here for our valleys, our I-15 corridor, and then the Wasatch back is dealing with snow-covered roads at times. But there's your traction laws in place. Keep that in mind if you're planning on heading into the Cottonwoods here today. It will be very crowded, but across portions of northern Utah, far northern Utah, Logan Canyon, Sardine Summit, yeah, it's going to be a little dicey here this morning. So if you're heading up there, know that you're going to have a little bit longer drive time, guys.
All right, thank you, Adam. We spent a lot of time talking about COVID-19's impact on our elementary school kids, public schools, but it's also having massive impact on higher education. From admissions and testing, grades and gap years, students in the schools they attend are making very different decisions about how to access education during a pandemic, and it's becoming clear not all students are experiencing these setbacks in the same ways. New data from a University of Utah think tank breaks down those changes and highlights how higher education might move forward. Joining me this morning to tell us more, Max Seawright, the director of that think tank, the Sorensen Impact Center at the U. Max, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Sarah.
So we're talking about the MAPS program. That's what this is called, right? Can you explain what the MAPS program is? Why did you decide to take a deep dive into higher education?
Well, the MAPS project is all about surveying the future of higher education, especially what that means for students. Over the past few years, a number of scholars have made predictions about how many colleges might close over the next 10 years. For example, the late Clayton Christensen thought it might be as many as 50%. So for the past couple of years, our team has been trying to bring some additional clarity to those projections with our own predictive models. And since 2019, we've been convening experts from higher ed, the ed tech industry, nonprofits, and accrediting bodies to explore what all of that means. Most importantly, instead of just focusing on colleges closing, we want to know what the future higher ed landscape means for students. So for us, this year has not only been the culmination of a few years of work, but a chance to explore how the pandemic might be accelerating some of those trends we've been seeing in the higher ed space, and revealing the cracks that might need to be repaired to make sure students succeed in the years ahead.
Got it. Interesting. So you've been looking at this for a few years, and then I'm sure you had to kind of swing and adapt, as we all did, to the pandemic. So I understand the project really looks at COVID's impact on higher ed in like our states, our institutions, and really our students. Is there a particular finding that has really surprised you?
Well, even before the pandemic, we knew how much college students depend on their institutions for housing, food, work, and their social life. But I'm not sure anyone on our team was prepared for the firsthand stories we gathered of students who experienced homelessness and financial insecurity as a result of losing on-campus housing or jobs. The other thing I'll mention is transparency, which is even more important than we thought to students. A lot of goodwill can be garnered and built on explaining decision-making processes to students and broader college communities. It's really time that administrations create new ways to hear from students, and not just the students who have the time and resources to participate in student government or on-campus groups.
Got it. Interesting. I'm curious, I mean, why is it so important overall that we have this data to show that the pandemic really has impacted some students way harder than it's impacted others?
Well, I think this data will help us make the right decisions for the years ahead. We know that demographics are changing. We want the students of 2030 to succeed as much as the students today, if not more. And so having data that breaks down information about race and sector and income and all the ways that students identify is going to be important for us to make the right decisions going forward.
Mm-hmm. So I understand we've really just like scratched the surface here. Your research is really interesting and so in depth. Where can people go to see it? Where can institutions go to see it and maybe apply it?
Well, you can follow us on social media at SorensenImpact.com. At Sorensen Impact, and you can check out our website, SorensenImpact.com.
Okay, awesome. We're talking with Max C. Wright, talking the MAPS project, the data project at the University of Utah. Max, thanks so much. We'll have all of this linked on our website too, abc4.com/JMU. Thanks, Max.
Thank you.
The time now 6:22. Up next on GMU, new hope for the airline industry. See how much the government is spending to keep those airline jobs afloat. And it's the start of the Lunar New Year. See how people in Taiwan are celebrating.
Time now for your weather on the 4s.
Well, welcome to your weather on the 4s, and we're continuing to see the precipitation fall in the form of rain and snow across the state. Northern Utah still seems to be more or less the bulk of the rain and snow is falling in northern Utah, though we are still seeing it as well across portions of southern Utah, southwestern Utah, south central Utah, and we're even seeing it across eastern Utah as well, in Vernal and the Tavaputs and across the Moab area. But things will eventually become more showery as we head into the afternoon, especially in the north. AM showers are still possible for St. George here before it comes to an end. You'll see a little bit of sunshine, get to 61, and then we'll get into the 50s in St. George. We have some rain in the forecast again for tomorrow for a second storm coming in, and then it just more or less dries out, and it'll actually be a fairly nice end to your weekend. For the Wasatch Front, rain turns to showers here this morning. Then our second storm system, after a little break in the action later today, comes in tomorrow morning with some more rain, snow chances, but it's cooler, so it means that we're going to be more benches and above for our snow chances on Saturday. Then it gets colder behind a frontal passage that comes in on Sunday that will turn everybody to snow and just more or less to have some snow showers around. But then another storm system arrives on Monday into Tuesday, bringing rounds of snow to the area. And even though temperatures are above freezing, under a northwest flow, that does still help keep it snow because it's a colder type of flow for the area. And overall, in terms of traffic, just wet roads across the I-15 corridor, and that was expected. We were not going to see snow here for the I-15 corridor for this storm, but we are getting the much-needed rainfall across the valleys. And then we're, of course, seeing the snow fall across Silver Creek Road and I-80 in Park City. Right on the summit, it's getting dicey at times because of the snow falling here and accumulating on the road. Up in northern Utah, another big, in terms of passes that we're dealing with here this morning, is not only Logan Summit and Sardine Summit, which has got a 10-minute longer delay than normal drive times, but of course Parley's we're keeping an eye on, making sure that things are a-okay, and they so far look good.
Thank you much there, Adam. The time now is 6:27. In your business news, more help is on the way for airline workers. And some theme parks may be closed, but Disney's still making big profits. Here's your Good Morning Utah business report. First-time claims for unemployment help are still historically high compared to pre-pandemic levels, but they are coming down. New federal numbers say 793,000 Americans filed claims last week, down 19,000 from the week before. Experts say it appears employers picked up hiring in January after a drop at the end of 2020. And nearly 8% of the workforce doesn't have just one job, they have at least two. That's according to Census Bureau information being released next week. Holding multiple jobs is a trend that's been on the rise for 20 years. Plus, more help could be on the way for the airline industry. The House Financial Services Committee has approved another $14 billion in payroll assistance. It would be the third round of federal help for airlines slammed by the pandemic. And finally, back in the black for Disney, thanks to Disney+. The parent company of ABC News says it returned to profitability thanks in large part to streaming services despite its struggling theme parks. Between Disney+, ESPN+, and Hulu, Disney has over 146 million paid subscribers. And that's your Good Morning Utah business report.
Still ahead on Good Morning Utah, we're taking a look at road conditions across the state, keeping you safe this morning. This is a live look in Park City. Park Avenue, Kearns Boulevard, snow coming down. Please stay safe this morning if you've got to commute. Plus, Utah's tourism industry ready to bounce back from pandemic losses. See new plans to bring people back to Salt Lake City safely in a live interview.
Live from Utah's first TV station, Good Morning Utah at 6:30 starts now.
Good morning, Utah. I'm Sarah Martin.
And I'm Brian Carlson. The time 6:30 on this Friday. We have a winter storm dropping rain and snow this morning.
Absolutely.
There's a live look outside. This is Park City. We've been watching this particular camera all morning long, and that snow has not stopped.
Conditions slick right now. Rain falling in the valleys. This is a live look at I-15 7th South downtown Salt Lake City. This is one of our UDOT traffic cameras. You can see roads shiny and wet.
And of course, we have team coverage of what you can expect for the morning commute. Meteorologist Adam Carroll following the storm from our Pinpoint Weather Center.
We begin though with ABC4's Jared Jatnini live in Parley's Canyon tracking this snow for us. What are you seeing, Jared?
Well, Sarah, this is the mountain snow that we're talking about, and take a look over the past 30 minutes. This is how much snow is accumulated on this desk we have out here, creating some slick driving conditions for folks out on the roadway. We are just by Summit Park, and you can see this is a frontage road. It's been cleared by snow plows. This is westbound traffic on I-80 in Parley's Canyon. You can see no major delays. It appears that folks are taking it slow. That morning commute has really picked up this morning, and the roads from our viewpoint have been cleared by UDOT crews that are out in full force this morning. We've seen probably 15 or so snow plows go by over the past couple hours that we've been out here this morning. No traction laws up Parley's Canyon right now, but if you're going to be commuting in from Park City to the valley or vice versa up to Park City to ski because of all the fresh powder, you're going to want to give yourself extra time. Make sure your car is prepared for slick driving conditions. And just be mindful because visibility out here is very poor, especially if you're driving, faster than you should be. It could almost look like near whiteout conditions. We have some reminders though from the Utah Department of Transportation. Take a listen.
Use extreme caution. Don't be driving on bald tires. Make sure that you're ready for those weather conditions.
All very important. I know, folks say we live in Utah, we get snow, but it seems like folks sometimes forget. So just all very important reminders. But again, here's a live look at I-80 westbound, eastbound traffic. No major delays at this portion of the road where we are right now. But if you're going to be heading out this morning commuting, be prepared to take it slow. Live, Jared Jatnini, ABC4 News.
All right, thank you, Jared. So how much snow will we get today? Let's check in with meteorologist Adam Carroll.
What are you seeing across the region, Adam?
Well, Powder Mountain, they've picked up 9 inches already here, and they're still snowing hard up at Powder Mountain. This is going to be the story and theme moving forward today, tomorrow, the next day, the next day, the next day. I mean, it's constant in the mountains, and they may never stop for the next 7 days. And that's fantastic news because we need it, guys, snowpack-wise and drought-wise for both our valleys and mountains. But here it is. Looking at Powder right now, you're seeing on their snow stake, it's about 8 inches, but their ski report came in at 9, so that must have been an inch or so that they saw yesterday over a 24-hour span of time. But overall, that's a fantastic way to start the day. It's a powder day at Powder Mountain, but the Powder Mountain Road could be very treacherous. Just know that if you're heading that way. But mountain snows continue, rain for the valleys continue, down the corridor, though it doesn't look like there's anything happening between Nephi and Richfield. It's just because the radars between Cedar City and Salt Lake are having a difficulty finding the precipitation because they're pretty far apart from each other. And then, of course, we're seeing the precipitation fall across eastern Utah. But notice, not a lot going on across Castle Country or other areas of eastern portions of Utah, and that mainly is just related to downslope, and it just kind of more or less turns off the precipitation. But snow falling here, heavy at times in our mountains, light to moderate rain for our valleys, and this is all so needed and so welcome. And a lot of us are, we get winter storms. We do get winter storms, but we don't get 3 significant ones in such a short period of time like we're about ready to here. And that's what makes this a little bit more of a unique situation. Rain for the valleys continue all the way over into eastern Utah with some mountain snow mixing with a little bit of rain snow for our colder valleys across the eastern portion of the state. But winter storm warnings for our first storm is still up through 11 p.m. tonight, as well as winter weather advisories for the central and southern mountains. UDOT has travel impacts out here. Majority of our mountain terrain, our mountain passes though across northern Utah will have more or less heavier mountain snows through the rest of the morning into the afternoon. With just really no accidents out there right now. These are just traction laws in place here for the Cottonwoods, so it's just wet roads. And Parley's is one we're keeping an eye out on. We're seeing that snowfall across Silver Creek Road. Parley Summit here is getting slushy as the temperatures continue to be problematic for there, but it is just a little bit behind schedule in terms of your drive times in and around Park City and over the summits. It's just something that we're keeping an eye on all morning long, guys.
One of Utah's largest industries is hoping to bounce back from our pandemic. Utah tourism supports 1 in every 11 jobs in our state. People visiting Utah spend a record $9.7 billion in our economy, nearly half of that in Salt Lake County. So how is Salt Lake City bringing those tourists back? Joining me now to explain is Kyah Stewart, the president and CEO of Visit Salt Lake. Kyah, thanks for being with us here this morning. Before we get into the plan to bring back tourists, what kind of hit is our tourism industry taking?
Well, it's a big one. You know, a lot of what we do is based on, you know, our convention business and everything that we bring into downtown Salt Lake by way of the Salt Palace Convention Center. And just last year, you know, we saw about $357 million in lost business due to convention cancellations. So if you can kind of aggregate that, then pile on some of the leisure visitation, it was very hard hit in 2020.
You're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah, that's a major hit. So yeah. Now for the average person, what does the tourism do for our economy?
Yeah, I mean, Salt Lake County equates for about 46% of the overall visitor economy across the state. I think what a lot of people don't realize is that actually brings in household tax relief. So essentially, without tourism in Salt Lake County, you would be paying a little over $1,100 more in taxes if that economy didn't exist. And so it really does hit every household across the county, across the state, and is a huge economic driver statewide.
So is there anything making you optimistic this morning?
Absolutely. You know, optimism, I think, is our game. It's kind of cautiously optimistic, if you will. We know that travelers are ready to travel when the time is right. It's all based on sentiment. We are coming out of our third biggest booking year for conventions. And the reason why that is because most of everything that we do is booked and comes to fruition, you know, a year or 2 years in advance. And when we look at second quarter, even in 2021, it's bigger than ever. So it's sort of this pent up demand that we're seeing of people wanting to come, pushing back a little bit. And as soon as we feel like the time is right, we have more business on the books than we've ever had.
Yeah, I definitely see that there's a lot of us who are chomping at the bit to get back to some of those things, visiting places, go on vacation. And obviously you want those people to come here. So absolutely. How do you balance COVID concerns with trying to bring people back?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key message is safety. And so we have to make people feel safe. We sponsored, by way of a Salt Lake County grant, about 20 plus venues across the county getting GBAC, which stands for Global Biorisk Facility Accreditation, certified. And so that basically means that they have gone through a national practice of getting entirely certified with sanitization. And that is at the Salt Palace, that is at the Vivint Arena. It's at our major mass gathering facilities so that we can go out into the marketplace and say, we are here, we are open, we are safe. And even if they're coming to a city, we also know that a huge driver is that Salt Lake City itself is so close to getting some fresh mountain air. So people can come in, they can be in a city environment, but if they need that escape feeling as well, we have the mountains just, you know, very, very close by.
That we do, and we're getting snow in those mountains today, and that ought to help our ski industry. Talking this morning with Kyah Stewart from Visit Salt Lake. Kyah, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
6:39 now. Coming up on Good Morning Utah, a major river in Albania burst through its banks, how people in those surrounding towns rushed to evacuate. Plus, 2 kids from Brooklyn search for a hidden treasure in a new kids movie. Our film critic has the reviews.
Time now for Utah's most accurate forecast with Adam Carroll, Weather Rate Certified 9 years in a row.
Let's check your weather here, Adam. I know we're watching the rain and snow this morning.
We are, yep. And in some areas, a little bit higher benches are mixing in with a little bit of rain, snow, Brian. We're seeing 6,500 feet and above, just snow. But it's very wet, so it's having an issue more or less accumulating on the warmer road surfaces, but the higher mountain passes is starting to become slushy out there, Brian, and also just more or less snow covered. That's why we're watching our mountain passes. But Hiram's seeing snow here, and it's mixing in with some rain as well. Up in far northern Utah, it's a little bit colder up there around Cache. But overall, we're still seeing the rainfall here across northern Utah, snowfall as well, also in southern Utah, eastern Utah on satellite as we get a little bit closer here into northern Utah. You can see the bulk of the heaviest precipitation is more or less winding down, but we're starting to see light to more or less showery type of precipitation here for our valleys of northern Utah. And then also our mountains will continue all day long with moderate snowfall here, and that will continue to pile up. And then the rest of the region, we're seeing still some rainfall across the I-15 corridor here around Milford. Also, the mountains are seeing the snow around Bryan Head, Bryce Canyon. Cedar is more or less out of the rain right now, but we're also seeing it here fall around Moab and the adjacent mountains like the La Salle and the Abajos. But right in the low 40s here, as rain will be in the forecast for the remainder of the morning hours, though it will quiet down across St. George fairly quickly this morning. We'll pick it right back up again heading into tomorrow because we're going to break down each storm because right now we're in that first storm. And as that moves on by and heads off to the east, by later today we'll be quiet for the most part, but the mountains will continue to see snow showers. Storm number 2 arrives here tomorrow morning, and it will be a very similar setup. It'll actually have a little bit more moisture with it. It'll be a little stronger as well because it's going to have an associated cold front. So it'll be cooler with this storm system tomorrow, more mountain snow than today, and later in the day, a front's going to come through with that system and change everybody to snow by the end of the day tomorrow, with then Storm 3 coming in on Monday morning, and that will be an all-snow event thanks to the colder air in place, and that one will bring accumulating snow to most of our valleys of Utah as that one more or less moves out of the picture by Tuesday. But it will be another prolonged event like tomorrow because tomorrow is going to be longer duration than today. But avalanche watches are up here through tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. for the piling of snowfall across our terrain of the entire region, where we're going to have another winter storm warning in effect here for Saturday morning for Storm 2, with winter storm watches in effect here for the same areas that are under advisories for the second storm that comes in tomorrow. That it begins tomorrow morning and ends at 11 a.m. Sunday when we have another period of more showery type of precipitation for our mountains. But 40s and 50s here is what you're seeing across the region, with some sunshine here later this afternoon across northwestern Utah and portions of southern Utah and eastern Utah as the storm clears out, and we see lesser and lesser chances of precipitation. And then, of course, looking at the broader perspective again, still seeing the rain fall. But St. George, 61, and honestly, we'll see the showers come through down here pretty quickly this morning, but more rain's in the forecast tomorrow. Then it just dries out and stays in the 50s. For the Wasatch Front, rain goes to showers here this morning, then rain, snow tomorrow. We'll see lower snow levels. That means bench locations will see accumulating snowfall. Then snow showers on Sunday. Another storm that looks pretty big in nature, like leads to coming in on Monday and Tuesday. That'll bring just snow to our valleys. So that means that we'll see accumulating snow with that one. How much is still in question. Traction laws in place for the Cottonwoods. We do have a new incident that I'm going to have to take a look at here in just a second so I can see what's going on with that one that just popped up. But overall, our mountain passes are where we're watching. Logan Canyon, also rain falling in Logan. Sardine Summit, we're seeing snowfall and accumulate here on Sardine Summit. Also Silver Creek Road, Parley's Canyon as well. Those are areas that we're watching. Still looks okay for Parley's Canyon, but not great in Sardine. But you can stick around because we're switching over to the Utah CW30 in just a few minutes for more news, weather, and traffic.
Thanks so much, Adam, keeping us safe today. Okay, time now for news around the world. In Russia, opposition leader Alexei Navalny back in court yesterday. Last month, the courts ordered Navalny to serve 2.5 years in prison for violating a suspended sentence and not showing up in person to a court date. He was recovering from a poisoning in Germany. Now leaders accuse Navalny of defamation as well. Protests erupted across the country last month, demanding Navalny's release. Heavy rainfall in Albania caused major flooding in northern parts of the country. Look at that. Families evacuating their homes in the surrounding rural towns. The Buna River in the northwest part of Albania burst its banks, flooded nearly 12,500 acres of agricultural land. So far, no reports of casualties or lost livestock. That's a miracle. People in Taiwan celebrated the start of Lunar New Year. You can see people praying for good fortune and health for the start of the Year of the Ox. The Buddhist temple in Taipei City saw less visitors this year because of COVID-19. Still a beautiful ceremony, though. Lunar New Year holidays in Taiwan begin February 10th, last until February 16th. That's your news around the world.
Time now for Talking Pictures with Tony.
You may like what's new to watch today. A psychological thriller explores one girl's deepest fears. Plus, 2 kids from Brooklyn search for lost treasure. Film critic Tony Toscano has the reviews.
Good morning. New on all video-on-demand platforms this week is the psychological suspense thriller Fear of Rain. It stars Madison Iseman and Katherine Heigl.
It's not real. It's not real. Did you hear that? There was a girl next door screaming for help.
Rain, there's nobody out here.
There's a little girl in your attic. I saw her.
There's no one up there.
She's lying.
You're telling me that your neighbor kidnapped a little girl and has her chained in her attic? Do you
I
realize
just
how
need
that
you to
sounds?
trust me.
I do. All right.
In the film, a girl living with schizophrenia struggles with terrifying hallucinations as she begins to suspect her neighbor has kidnapped a child. I chatted with the film's star, Madison Iseman.
People who do deal with schizophrenia, they are ordinary people who have to go brush their teeth in the morning and put their shoes on, and I think Castile did a very great job at bringing that ordinary life to Rain's story, and really at the end of it, she is a young woman who struggles with schizophrenia, but she also witnessed her neighbor kidnapping a child. So there's a lot of layers throughout the entire story, but I think Castile did an amazing job of making sure every beat had its moment and everything was there for a reason.
Fear of Rain is an intricate, well-acted, and well-crafted suspense thriller, and well worth your time to see. Again, it's streaming on all video-on-demand platforms. It gets an A and is rated PG-13. Streaming exclusively on Netflix is the new family adventure, Finding Ohana.
This is it. This is where the queen wanted us to go.
What do you think's down there?
I just want to grab my sister who thinks she's Indiana Jones.
We'll get them. My kids are inside a mountain looking for some Spanish gold.
In the film, a vacation in Hawaii leads 2 kids from Brooklyn on an exciting hunt for lost treasure.
Peely is actually kind of the one who started this whole adventure. I mean, she finds a journal in her papa's bush she wasn't supposed to have found, and she hears it leads up to some Spanish gold, and she takes everyone on a crazy adventure with her.
And it was so important to me to get it right, being part Hawaiian and, having the respect for the culture. So yeah, there was definitely a lot to learn, just being back in Hawaii and really being immersed in the culture again.
Finding Ohana is an old-fashioned, fun family adventure the kids will love. It's streaming exclusively on Netflix and gets an A. It's rated PG. Streaming on Prime Video is the new suspense mystery thriller, Tell Me Your Secrets. It stars Lily Rabe and Amy Brennerman.
You think people can really change, John?
If I was you, Prison was a real epiphany. Now I am well. If I was you, I'd be afraid.
I need you to find someone.
Afraid of what's inside.
Help me find this monster before she destroys someone else's life.
Oh, no.
The lives of 3 characters intersect in this gritty suspense drama as pasts are revealed, secrets are exposed, and people are pushed to the edge.
But what I noticed when I finally saw the show put together
Honestly, it reminded me of Heat, of the movie Heat I did, in that there's quite a number of people and each one is indelible. Each one, nobody's a throwaway, nobody's a filler, nobody's just there for plot. And that's really Harriet, sort of building out this world, with this trio at the center, but like they are in a well-established world.
Tell Me Your Secrets is an engaging and intricate series with more twists than a corkscrew. Again, it's streaming on Prime Video and gets an A. It's rated TVMA. For ABC4, I'm film critic Tony Toscano.
All right, thank you, Tony. And if you like Tony as much as we do, head to Facebook and like his page, Talking Pictures, or visit his website, talkingpictures.tv.
Plenty to watch and snuggle up with as we're hiding from the snow this weekend, Adam.
Yeah, and you know what? Some areas are going to start seeing that snow across our valleys as early as tomorrow because of the elevation and temperature that you'll be at. But the lower valleys across the central Wasatch and southern Wasatch front will likely more or less be rain or rain snow into tomorrow's next storm. But look at the snow report. Powder 9 inches. Everybody saw at least an inch of snow in the last 24 hours, and we're still piling it up. So those that are heading to the mountains, well, first of all, drive safe, take it easy. Know that a lot of other people are heading up there too because it'll be a powder day. Visibilities are going to be low up in the mountains, and we're heading into another storm system tomorrow that will be bigger and have a lot more snow than even what we're going to see today. So keep that in mind as well. But after some showers end this morning in St. George, we'll see some rain tomorrow, then we'll dry out. Now our next storm system arrives tomorrow morning for the Wasatch Front with rain and snow chances for both valleys, benches, and of course snow higher up from there. Then another storm system Monday into Tuesday with just snow in the forecast. And as far as traffic is concerned, we've got traction laws in place for the Cottonwoods. Those are the only passes dealing with the traction laws in place right now. But there is an accident here at the I-80 westbound off-ramp and Bangerter. That's the closest camera I have. Doesn't look like the accident is in view of that camera, but we also are following what's happening on Parley's, keeping an eye on that, making sure that we're safe traveling over the pass. And right now it's a few minutes late, but not overly crazy delayed.
All right, no delay here. It's baby birthday time, and we've got 3 today. This is Kyah Stewart. She turns 20 today.
Kyah! I love her name. So cute.
Oh, yeah. And she's got a cute little shot when she was so little. Happy birthday, Kyah.
Happy birthday, Kyah. She turns 20, you said, right?
You bet.
Ooh,
and then we've also got Keaton today. He turns 16. Keaton. It was the oldest son of one of our producers. Hopefully we've got that photo here for you this morning, too.
There we go.
There's Keaton.
I love this photo. It looks like a motivational poster.
He
It's
does.
like looking up into the sky.
Inspiration.
So cute. Keaton, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Keaton. Also, we got Aiden here. He turns 13 today. He's our director's son. Aiden also, he's a pretty happy kid as well, isn't
Yes,
he?
that smile.
Yep, big day for all 3 of you.
Gonna be
Birthday,
a teenager,
Happy
crazy.
birthday, yep, that changes things, that's for sure. Thanks for making us part of your morning here. Obviously, you want to send in your photos, just email them to news@abc4.com and put in the subject line, baby birthday.
Okay, before we go, the Cox-Henderson administration implementing some very important policies, including an official declaration of casual Fridays.
Wow.
Is this funny?
So the state of Utah is now recognizes Casual Friday.
Just in the governor's office.
Oh, I see.
So I don't think he has the power to do it across the state.
I was ready to take my jacket off,
I
guys.
know,
Where's
right?
the shorts?
But in the governor's office, apparently Casual Friday's now a thing. Ties and heels are out on Fridays. Jeans permissible.
Whoa.
They are still allowed to have like big important meetings where they have to dress up, but it's okay. Deirdre Henderson, our lieutenant governor, tweeted, she said, I'll probably still show up in a suit and heels, something about old habits. I'm sure you'll get used to it.
Yeah,
Lieutenant
you can't
Governor
show up to work in
Henderson,
your
enjoy
PJs.
those Fridays. Wear some jeans.
There you go. Thanks for making us part of your morning.
More local news coming up on Utah's CW30.